1490 WGCH. It's time for the wrap with Kerry Lutz and Ty Andros. For more information, go to traderview.com or financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Ty, it's time for the wrap. What's going on this week?
Well, it's attention. A lot of tension in the wind. I'm writing an article right now about Spain and Italy, and it's all over but the crying. The Spanish banking system and the sovereign has basically been turned out. Lenders are not rolling their debts, and the Spanish banking system has doubled its borrowings from the ECB, and it's basically creditors saying, no, we won't loan you money anymore. And not only will we not loan you money, the money that you were getting back when maturities mature, we're not going to roll it. Mm-hmm. And the LTRO money is basically gone. And of course, Spain was the biggest borrower, and they plowed a lot of that money into sovereign debt. We are seeing the Italians and the Spanish as well moved into what I'll call ARMs, adjustable rate mortgages, where the only thing they can sell are 1 to 3 year notes, which fall within that LTRO. And because the banks don't want to have any risk after, they have to return those funds to the ECB. So, these people are not only, they have to go there for fiscal reasons, just because the lending, the cost of it is low. But at the same time, they're putting themselves in a position where they have to roll bigger and bigger sums going forward. Mm-hmm. And since these are economies that don't grow and in fact are contracting, and of course, they say it's going to contract 1.7%. How absurd! Those economies are contracting at 5, 6, 7, 8% compounded annually.
Really?
Yeah. And that's when fiat currencies die, because a fiat currency has got to have the prospect that it's going to get paid back. Mm-hmm. And those facades are falling fast. It's why the Chinese yuan can be strong, because they have an Austrian economy and they produce more than they consume. So a creditor actually has the idea that they may have the income to pay off their obligations. But once you get in debt spirals and you can't produce more than you consume, then every creditor is at risk. And, they're not all dummies. And, at the margin, enough of them are not rolling over that insolvency is there. It's been there for a long time, but it's now can't be, hidden. There will have to be I'm going to call it a bailout of the Spanish banking system, and it's going to be hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars, and you can't be put off. I don't think it'll make it to July. I actually believe it'll be quite a bit sooner than that.
So where's the money going to come from, Ty?
Well, their EFSF still has about 200 billion in it, and then they have the European Stability Mechanism, which comes into being in July. But remember, and of course, the ESM was specifically put together to bail out banking systems. But of course, can't go straight to the banks. It's going to have to be, funneled through the Spanish government. And the Spanish government is, as bankrupt as anybody. I'm sure you saw the confiscation of Repsol by the Argentinian government. Well, that's, kind of shades of Hugo Chavez and, Christina Kirchner. But you have to understand that behavior is coming to Europe, and that behavior will be coming to America before it's over.
Oh, they've been talking about stealing people's private pension plans for years here. And when it really gets bad, you think they're not going to do it?
Well, they're going to try. I believe the American people are quite a bit less passive than the Argentinians. I believe that when they try to do that, there's going to be blood in the streets.
And better armed as well, huh?
And better armed as well. The U.S. government is cruising for a showdown with the American people. And they have turned on the American people and are now feeding upon them. And it's cannibalism of the worst sort. But, the U.S., hardcore socialists are in charge. And these people are black. They're no different than Mao or Lenin or any of those other groups that wanted to take power from people and dominate their lives. It's unfolding quite a bit along the lines of other socialist dictatorships, and where they just have to, socialism is misery spread widely. That's the definition of it. As their policies remove all the incentives for people to produce, they rightly quit producing. And this is no different than, it's farther along the trail in Europe, but it's, the chosen one is working very hard to catch up. And the United States is going to collapse just like the Soviet Union did in moral and fiscal bankruptcy.
And it happens fast, too, when it happens, right?
Well, it starts to accelerate, and we're really in that period, I think, where it goes exponential. And as I've said to the listeners a number of times, that we're in what I believe to be a currency and financial system extinction event. And that's both here and worldwide, because everything... all the currencies are derivative of the dollar. Most central bank reserves are tied up in dollars. At the same time, we have a government that's borrowing, $7 billion a day. We had new debt figures come out for last month, and it was another second worst deficit ever, $199 billion. And, of course, that doesn't include the trade deficit, which was another $45 billion. And so the United States is hemorrhaging on a run rate. They're hemorrhaging about $2.5 trillion a year. And of course, this is an economy that supposedly is $15 trillion, and of course that's all mismeasured too.
Yeah, well, GDP means nothing because it's not a measurement of wealth, and it includes debt and deficits. So. It's totally false. Yeah, it's consumption, and that consumption is not where wealth is produced. Wealth is produced by production, not by consumption. Consumption should be the last step of production, but in this country, it's a goal in and of itself, and that's a story for another day. But
well, in Europe too, they want to preserve the consumption at any expense, and of course, that expense is destruction of the private sector so that they can continue to consume. I mean, it's a something for nothing society. And they're like locusts. And they eat everything right down to the root, and then they go in and eat next year's seed corn. So that all of the productive parts of society are destroyed, and the provisions for next year's harvest are destroyed. And it's exactly like a locust. And, we've got about 100 million people now getting some kind of a government check every month.
Oh, we got 88 million people who are permanently out of the labor force right now. And that brings us to gold and silver. They've been stuck in the mud. My personal belief, purely manipulation in the paper market. There's been all these efforts to set up alternative markets in the Far East that actually function according to the rule of law. So far, they've failed, but somehow this market is going to be broken because when you manipulate markets long enough, it causes malinvestment, it causes real dysfunctions in the markets, and eventually they break out in very violent fashion. Are we getting close to that point, Ty?
I believe we are. I believe that everybody's impoverished. Everybody thinks that one of the 10 Commandments is "Thou shalt not steal." But in this country, it's changed, and in Europe,
Yeah.
"Thou shalt not steal," except for at the end of a government gun. And the government is the thug, and it's just like Kirchner again in Argentina, but it takes different forms here in the United States and Europe. And it's the death of everything that's good, every virtue of production, every virtue of saving, everything that you would do to create a better future for yourself is punished, and punished in a draconian fashion.
Not just a better future for yourself, but for your children. I mean, I've got kids, and I've acquired wealth for myself, but also I don't want to consume all my wealth during my lifetime. I'd like to leave my children something so that A, they can have a better life than me, or B, that they're in a position to build upon that wealth and get an opportunity that they wouldn't otherwise have. And the government is actively trying to steal your children's future, my children's future, every kid's future, whether they've been born yet or not. And
they already have stolen
Yeah.
it. They already have stolen every bit of productive production that they're going to have. They've already borrowed the money and spent it, and many times over. It's actually not just our children; it's our children's children.
Yeah, and their children.
Our children's children's children.
Yeah,
Okay?
and then
of course they don't understand that they're not going to pay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, understand. There will be regime change, and those promises are worthless.
Yeah, repudiation is always the end result of all government debt, whether it is current debt that has been actually funded in the marketplace, or promises, unfunded liabilities to members of society in exchange for their votes, support, etc. All of those promises are eventually repudiated and defaulted upon, and this time is going to be no different than any other. And if you believe otherwise, you are completely deluding yourself.
And of course, what do you do, Kerry?
There's only one thing you could do. Well, there's two things. You can think about moving out of the country, expatriating, which from my purposes, not really an option, or you put your wealth beyond the kleptocracy's reach.
I would agree. You got to get your money out of the banking system.
Yeah, the banking system and the government's clutches. So That's really it. There's no other choice. There's nothing else. There's nothing else that you can do. Right?
Well, there's lots of, I guess I think that I'm going to get richer than God in this period, but that's using applied Austrian economics. Absolutely. And understanding what we're looking for and letting it come to you. Mm-hmm. And, these markets are highly, what I'll call it, massaged. Yeah. And, everybody, you talked about gold and silver. I actually believe that this is the pause that refreshes, and they've done about as much as they can do. And, they've been doing this intervention since 2000. So, it still has moved gold from 250 to 1650, with the high of 1900. The problem they have now is that all the people that are doing the buying of the paper expect them to deliver the physical. And we'll see if that happens. I believe that, I believe they will deliver it, because they need those people to continue to buy the worthless paper. And they will, just to keep the system going.
Well, at some point that becomes unsustainable. The system can't go on any longer, no matter what. We've seen it over and over in history. And that's the stuff that revolutions and, I guess, global market resets are made of. And that's what we're going to be facing. there's really not much else to be said about it. It's going to happen. Just a question of when and what precipitating event sets it off. So on that note, Ty, we've got to wrap the wrap and just tell us, we're looking to learn more about you, your systems. Where do we find you?
Well, if you want good information about what's going on and what's unfolding, my website, tedbits.com, is dedicated to providing good analysis from people that generally wouldn't be covered just because they tell you the truth. And we've got a smattering of, I'll call it paper boys in there, so we can see what the enemy's doing. And it's really, we're getting Tech Talk up this week, which will have work by Gordon T. Long and Garrett Jones and a number of people as we identify them. And then if people are looking for help with their portfolio, they can find me at traderview.com. And what I do is absolute return alternative investing using professionally managed futures. And I can help you, one, return I can fix your paper money and restore the functions of money so you can store wealth in it. And once they do that, I can show them how to diversify through a group of managers who are professionals at putting together systems which can thrive in up and down markets. And there's going to be plenty of down markets before this is over.
Truer words are never spoken. So on that note, financialsurvivalnetwork.com. You can hear this discussion with Ty as well as at least half a dozen other ones we've had in the past. A lot of good information there. We're updating the blog 30, 50, sometimes 100 articles a day on kind of documenting the collapse in slow motion as it's occurring. And, if you go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com, sign up for the newsletter, sign up for the free Financial Survival Toolkit. A lot of good stuff in there. Help get you through these tough times. And hopefully this week will be an easy week, Ty, and we'll talk with you again next Friday.
Thank you for having me, Kerry. It's always great.
Hey, you too.